This morning, we're joined by two gentlemen. One of them will be in our Abuja, beg your pardon, in our Lagos studios. He'll be coming in shortly. But right now on Zoom, we have Dr. Abdulwasiu Oyakire, who is a member of the All Progressives Congress and joins us from Edo State. Thank you so much for speaking with us this morning, Mr. Oyakire. I do not know how you will assess the current administration in its quest to try and forge a brotherhood. Well, I say, maybe I shouldn't use that word, lest the women come from me using it as a woman myself. But forming, or will I say creating or forging a country where people see themselves as brothers and sisters. How far so far under this administration?
All right, good morning, Mokwe. Good morning, Nigerians, and thank you so much for having me. Going straight to your question, I think the issue of national unity is a project ongoing. It's a continuous process. But I think the president has displayed a high level of intentionality in ensuring that this national unity as a subject is enhanced. I mean, the introduction of the reintroduction of the old national anthem, which speaks to our unity in diversity, which speaks to our quest for nationhood, I think speaks volume about the president's intention. And I think there is a verse in that anthem that says, though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. And so I think that caps and encapsulates the entire fulcrum of the president's intention towards the nation, to build a nation where, yes, we acknowledge our differences, we acknowledge that we come from different tribes, and we acknowledge that we come from different regions, we have a vast variation in our culture and our religion, but then we must remain together and we must stick together. We must ensure that the Nigerian project is not a project that is tied to one tribe or one group. So that is why it is often chanted, though tribes and tongues may differ, but we must acknowledge our differences. In brotherhood we stand. We will stand together as one. So I think the president is doing a lot in terms of ensuring that the unity of the country is upheld. And also, more importantly too, is the entrenchment of the federal character. You can see the appointments of the president being spread across the different geographical zones in the country. So that speaks volume too of the administration. I think it will be fair for us to address the issues as an administration rather than of the president. Because yes, the president is the head of the administration, but it's an administrative thing. So we must look at every angle to the administration. Once we do that, we'll begin to understand that it's a collective thing. Everyone, every tribe, every citizen, the media inclusive, should be a part of this project. The project Nigeria is not a project for the president alone. It's a project for you and I, those in diaspora, and everybody who is concerned and has an affiliation to the country called Nigeria.
Well, I'm sure you are very aware that one of the greatest criticisms against the president since he became president is this issue of nepotism. They've accused him of appointing mostly people from his side of the country, particularly Lagos State. And if you take a look at, some of the, well, I say important levels of government, these accusations are not without evidence. As somebody who is a member of the All Progressives Congress, how do you respond to that?
Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, sometimes we hear people make such accusations. And the first thing we must understand is that the records are there, the facts are there. I think some months ago, the presidency had released the list of appointees that the president has made, and they have been distributed across the geographical zones. So sometimes speculations without facts is a problem. But if you say that the president has chosen that the members of his inner cabinet and kitchen cabinet should be people he's familiar with, I do not think any leader should be judged harshly if you choose to implement very revolutionary policies with people you have tested in the past and you have trusted their delivery. A lot of times the media tell you that, oh, Lagos is a no man's land. Every culture is in Lagos. Every tribe is in Lagos. But when it comes to appointment, we begin to exhibit some form of naive nepotism saying that, oh, why is it Lagos? I think the president chooses to work with people he has confidence in, people he has tested and trusted before now, because the Nigerian project is not a project for trial and error. It is a project that should be seen to have the best pilots on the wheel. So if the president chooses to go in that way, I mean, but rather choosing competent hands that he knows. And even in doing that, he has also been very careful to ensure that the federal character is not abused. And I think for those who hold such view, it would be pertinent to tell them that let the facts come up. yes, we know that a couple of members of the kitchen cabinet, which has always been the case anyway, we find out that each time we have our presidents, they would always like to bring close to themselves those who are of their tribal extraction. But that does not raise question about the federal character.
How does it not? Because in this particular instance, you have justified it, yet you say it's not an affront to the federal character. Many people will disagree with you.
Yes, you see, you put yourself in a position, for instance, if as you are now today, you are made probably the chairman of Channels TV, I am sure that the cabinet you are going to set up, you are going to be looking out for those people you have worked with in the past who have proven to be intelligent, who have proven their worth, who have proven their onion, and you would rather be more comfortable and relaxed to give them a department or a unit and say, handle this, and you go and sleep confidently, rather than trying to test run people you have not known before, people you haven't seen before. So this might be the president's thinking towards that. I am not standing in for the president, but I'm only telling you that Nigerians should, rather than criticize where these people are coming from, look at their pedigree. Does it mean that if today I become a governor of a state, therefore all members of those who I have known and my family members should naturally be excluded from giving their best to the nation? So I think we should become more objective. We've had presidents from the US, George Bush, for instance, the father and the son, they were presidents. We have Adams, the father and the son in the US, they were presidents. They both transformed from president. The father was the president, prime minister, and then the son too took over. So sometimes let us not be, as I say, myopic approach to thinking, oh, this man, where is he from? The next time you hear an appointment, rather than asking who is the person and what is his pedigree, you begin to ask, where is this person from? Oh, his name sounds like he's from this tribal extraction. I think that is a big distraction that we have had as a nation, and it's something that we must begin to grow above. We must grow above the individual primitive views to things, to look at the broader concern of the nation. I think we should rather question the quality, the qualification, and the need for those people, rather than questioning where they are from.
I'll see whether our guest in Lagos agrees with you on this particular view. And Ayo, I know that our guest should be seated now. It's over to you.
Well, thank you, Mokwe. Mr. Dakpo Adaramewa is here. He's an entrepreneur, strategy and policy consultant, and he's also a member of the Obedient Movement. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
First of all, would you also accuse the president of nepotism like some?
I think your first guest has admitted that there is a bias, right? He's just trying to justify it. He's saying that, okay, it's really about the character of the person, and I will not, I would not argue about that. The character of the person.
Do you think there is a bias?
Certainly, we can see it in he has picked his crew, the Lagos crew, right? Okay. There's no denying that. Right?
Is he the first person to do that?
No. Unfortunately, I think the last president sent a very dangerous pedigree, shall we say. He set the standard, and there's just a continuation of that.
How about previous
to a lesser
well?
extent? Previous governments, I'm not too sure. Okay. That's the truth, but I do know that the previous government set that as the standard, in fact, to a very detrimental degree. The character and the qualifications of the person ultimately matter. But in a federal state like Nigeria, the federal character principle is integral. You cannot tell me that there is any state in Nigeria that cannot produce one individual that has the capacity to deliver on any position.
But would you really say that, that is the case, given that, there are many other offices? The federal government has more than 1,500 ministries, departments, agencies, and corporations. And perhaps we're only speaking to just the prominent ones, and maybe there are others that we're not looking at.
Yeah, that's very possible. That's very possible. But we have to judge by what we see, right? Now, previously, the federal character principle has not been followed, and it doesn't even have enough autonomy to check any administration or to publish its own data. It would be nice to see concrete data on what the split is according in the various different ministries and parastatals. Let us actually know what is happening. Unfortunately, we don't have that data. So all we're left to do is speculate by the people we can see, the people who are constantly in the news.
Okay, so that's one leg of it. The other leg is whether or not there's been competence. So on the one hand is the accusation of nepotism, and then there's the other leg of performance and all of that. Well, some You're talking about hard data. There are those who are speaking to the fact that for the first time ever, Nigeria has recorded, like in a very long time, Nigeria has recorded some 4% growth in GDP. For the first time ever, Nigeria has increased its revenue generation capacity, tremendously. And there are those who are still pointing to the fact that, first of all, that is non-tax, non-oil, that is tax revenues have increased for the first time ever, so astronomically. And with the new laws, the tax laws in January, kicking in from January, we might see an even more increase in that, at least as far as the federal government is concerned. We'll come back to the states, later. So, and then there are those who are also speaking to some infrastructure, soft infrastructure development, that a good number of people haven't been able to do, a good number of previous leaders have not been able to do over time. Are you in cahoot with them, or you are a bit of a variance?
Yeah, well, I think firstly we have to be very honest with ourselves, right? It's very normal for the government to try and pat itself on the back, but one thing we do know for a fact is that 2 out of 3 Nigerians currently are living in multidimensional poverty. That is awful.
Whose data is that?
That's according to the most international organizations recognize that. Even the Bureau of Statistics in Nigeria recognizes that almost 90% of Nigerians are in the informal sector. So that means they have no job security. These are people who are hustling for their daily bread. They are literally one case of malaria away from being able to take care of themselves, right? So the writing is on the wall. We know that Nigerians are worse off than they ever were. We know that inflation is almost about 20% right now. Nigerians have less money, right? And there's less that they can do with it than ever before. So these are just the facts that we're looking at, right? We look at the fact that this government is spending about 60% of its revenue on servicing old debt. Well, at the same time, in the last 2 years, they've borrowed $21 billion. Now, let's ask ourselves, what have we seen? We talk about infrastructural projects. I think the big thing that they shout is this Calabar Expressway. The Calabar Expressway has not gotten to 10% completion, right? And yet, all the ministers flew on their private jets to come and cut a ribbon here in Lagos State. It's an embarrassment. It is testament to the fact that these people are not focused. Of that 21 billion that has been borrowed in the last 2 years, can we point to anything that has improved the lives of Nigerians? I can't see it. I can't see it at all.
Well, Dr. Yakire, I believe you would want to have a say or two about that, just so we have some kind of balance. Do you agree with Mr. Dapo here?
Yeah, thank you so much. You see, I think we should look at the facts and the data. The data of the presidential appointments was released by the presidency some weeks or so ago. So I think maybe Mr. Dapo can avail himself of that document. It reflects the federal character. And then talking about the economy and
Well, Dr. Yakire, we don't have good network from your end now. As soon as we do, we'll definitely take you back so that we can really enjoy the content that you're going to be giving to us. But there's that one little thing that he said now. Perhaps the issue sometimes is that of what data are we looking at? So on the one hand, government will release its own data. Economists will analyze its data, and I can tell you, I mean, having been on this program a number of times, that there are some economists that actually believe that, okay, maybe the federal government is doing something. The challenge that have been on ground, and I'm glad that you usually like to look at issues on a balance. The challenge is people are not feeling it. Simply because, I mean, just as you have pointed at, a good number of people living in multidimensional poverty live in the states. Now, the states have more resources deployed to them. Unfortunately, Nigerians are not feeling the benefits. The president, a number of times at different fora, have called out the governors and said, guys, we are doing our best here. You are the ones that are doing all of this work at the subnational level. The people should be feeling you more than they they should be feeling the federal government. So what's your take on that? Do you think there's anything else the federal government could have done? And I'm very specific about using the word the federal government could have done to ensure that the state governments do what is expected of them, so that the benefits that are coming from the federal purse is reflective on the lives of the people.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot they could have done. I think it was last year, the Supreme Court passed a judgment saying that local governments should get their funding directly. There's no need for it to run through the state government. Now, somehow, over the past year, the Federal Executive Committee and the committees that they've set up to implement this ruling of the Federal, of the Supreme Court have been unable to do that. Right? That is something so that you don't have to appease the governor. You can simply just follow what is the law and make sure that the funding gets to the last layer of government, the last layer of government that is closest to the people. It's a huge failure there. Now, looking at the federal government in itself, this is the first time, I believe, in about 15 years that the Budget Office has not released a report on its budget performance. Now, that report is basically, this is what we said we were going to spend, this is how we spent it. For a year, they have not done that. For the first time in 15 years. It is a huge indictment on the federal system itself, the federal government and the president currently, and as well as it shows that if you cannot hold yourself to account, on what pedestal are you standing on to try and hold the governors to account when you can simply implement what is the law?
So you don't buy the statements of the federal government on the two issues. On the one hand, the Ministry of Defense Incorporated, actually, the Ministry of Finance Incorporated, have said that, look, it's not just cut and paste. There are certain soft infrastructure that need to be adjusted in the policy, and even the Budget Office issue that you spoke to, they have also come out with certain information that because some things are moving, it's not easy to just track the data. So you don't buy that information?
Put it this way. If you have the might and the resources of the Federal Republic of Nigeria at your disposal, and the wisdom of all the intellectuals that we have in this country, and you cannot implement paying money to the local government chairman or the right individuals, then that is a failure.
Okay.
Point blank.
Dr. Yakire, your response, you wanted to say something the other time. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think when we're talking about the records and how the economy is faring, I think we should be quite objective in how we present the facts. Yesterday, the MPC, Monetary Policy Committee, released the data, and we can see that there is a decline in the inflation up to about 20.1% from 21.8% just last month when we had a similar interaction. And our forex has gone now, foreign reserves has now gone over to over $43 billion. So I think the figures are looking good. The country's economy is stabilizing, and we dare say that we are close to stability. But just like one would always argue, maybe we may need to do more to trickle it down. And that's when you find movements like the Republic City Boy movement entering the market, empowering these market women directly without necessarily using proxy. You see, when the president approves something,
what you're saying is an intervention of sorts, Dr. Yakire. How about ensuring there's something that Mr. Dapohe, I guess, here said earlier about the fact that the people are not feeling it. It doesn't have to be an intervention, activity like that of the City Boy movement or the obedient movement at that. It has to be the government doing what it needs to do, be it at the federal or state level.
When the government award a road from, say, Benin, Ramat Park in Benin up till probably Okene or Lokoja, it is not just for the government purpose alone, it is to serve the people. When the government come up with educational policies to improve the curriculum, saying that we should now emphasize more on skills, it is not only for the government, it is for the people. And when the government award construction of health centers, come up with health policies, all of these things are for the people, not for the government alone. So sometimes I think the problem we have is the expectations of Nigerians. Nigerians believe that the change we should see should be automatic. It should just happen overnight. Meanwhile, the years of decay have culminated into the state we have now. So to leave this state, it must take time. We must trust the process. It is a procedural thing. And that the budget office did not release the budget performance. I think, Mr. Dakwa, if the budget office is in Abuja, you can write to them and then share your response to the public. So we know that, okay, you have written to them. So you can request for some of this information, but it will be foolhardy for us to hold the government that the government is not performing when we have not looked at what the figures are looking like.
Interesting that you would ask Mr. Adaramewa to write to request for something that the government should do itself. But wait just a moment, I'm sure that Maokwe has a question or two as well. Maokwe, go ahead.
Let's take a look at this one. Creating sufficient jobs with decent wages. We are at a place where inflation, they say, is on the decline. Yesterday, we saw the Central Bank of Nigeria cut interest rates as a result of decreasing inflation, or inflation not growing as fast as it did last year. However, the pains remain the same, especially for lots of Nigerians who are low-income earners, even the mid-income earners or even high-income earners. And lots of them are complaining about how inflation has affected their income. Let's not even talk about job creation. In that area, how would you say that the Tinubu administration has fared?
If they are constructing the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, there are those that will be employed on that job directly. But beyond those people who are working on the project, who have gotten direct employment, there is that woman who sells food in the afternoon at 1 o'clock, who will have to take the food to the site to sell to workers. There is that bus driver who will transport workers to the site. There is that recharge card seller who sell to workers. There is that bus driver who will transport workers to the site. There is that recharge card seller who will sell recharge cards to workers who wants to call their families in the evening. So these are indirect jobs that will be created along that chain. But sometimes we focus so much on the white-collar jobs, how many jobs have been created in terms of the white-collar. The monetary policy is creating a lot of jobs in the non-formal sector. People can now have access to having digital tools, and resources are available. Investors are willing now to come and invest in Nigeria because the economy is now stable. And yesterday, we should also understand that the Nigerian brand is beginning to market. Yesterday, I heard Alhan Islam, Mariam Bokar, speak at the UN General Assembly. And if you listen to her speech, you can see the Nigerian spirit. I think this is what Nigerians should become now. We should become more patriotic about our country. We should become more holistic in our views, rather than be, yes, we understand that Nigeria is not where we want it to be. We understand that there is struggle, there is a lot of financial unrest in the vast majority of the citizens, but you don't take people from the states where they are not too comfortable financially and take them high by giving them money directly. No, you make policies. These policies will dovetail into them being elevated in their financial status. And I think these policies are in the right direction. Last month, we had the same discussion, and you will agree with me that from last month to this month, there has been some improvements. Whether the improvement is as we want it to be in terms of being astronomical, or it is just moving arithmetically, is a different ballgame entirely. But definitely, we are not where we used to be. And I think that if we give the government more time, it's just 2 years, that we will get to where we want to be. The president has promised us jobs, and we can see some jobs being created both in the direct employment and indirect employment. Jobs are being created. The jobs are there. So I think we should give credit to the government.
Would you have had, I mean, assuming the candidate of the Labour Party had won the elections, would you have had him do anything differently, especially given the fact that they too, I mean, he himself as well as Vice President Atiku Abubakar had all promised that they were going to take away fuel subsidy. Part of the criticism is that too much was done too soon, and as such is the reason we've seen inflation skyrocket in the manner that it did. It's slowing somewhat, but it's still there. Would you have had them do anything differently? This is for you, Mr. Adaramewa.
I believe His Excellency Peter Gregory B also said, like you pointed out, that it will remove fuel subsidy. Now, the issue still is how it was done, right? So you had a lot of changes that were done very abruptly without any sense of order. And what that created in the system was chaos, and Nigerians are paying for it right now. Right, we could have had a staggered phase out of these issues. We also could have investigated what really went on when this fuel subsidy scam was going on and tried to recover the loot that was taken from the Nigerian people. I think that would have been a good place to start. And also, just to respond to what the other guest has said in regards to job creation, it shows that maybe this government does not fully appreciate that a government's job is not primarily just to create jobs, right? You create jobs by creating an environment for private business to grow and thereby create jobs for the people. It's not the federal government that is going to employ everybody in Nigeria. That is just ludicrous. It cannot work. And the question we must ask ourselves, in the last 2 years, has this government created a situation where private business can grow? When the interest rates are at 30%, when the fact that there's been no development around electricity, there's been no development, solid development in infrastructure that would make it easier to move goods around the country, there's been no leaps and bounds when it comes to internet or the development of proper cabling for fast internet, we realize that this government has done absolutely nothing for private business to grow. I find that as a businessman, you grow in spite of the government, not because of it. Whereas when you're abroad, when you're living in a country that actually works, the government helps private business to grow. These are the things that Peter Obi has set out that he would have done and he will do when he comes into power.
You don't think that or rather enabling an organization like Dangote to work in a way that he can buy 4,000 trucks and recruit about between 4,000 and 10,000 people, you don't think it's an enabling environment?
Dangote, let's be clear, Dangote's refinery was passed far before this government. In fact, it was under this government, if you remember, that Mr. Dangote was on TV crying to the nation to come and help him. Okay. Because the government was trying to strangle him through the NNPC.
But has he strangled? Well, don't even answer that question.
They tried. They tried.
So many other issues to take on with that one, but unfortunately, we're completely out of time. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Dakwa Daramewa is an entrepreneur, strategy and policy consultant. He's also a member of the Obedient Movement, as well as Dr. Abdulwasiu Oyakire, who is a member of the APC and the coordinator City Boy Movement in Edo State, joins us virtually. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time this morning.
Thank you.